he's up there.
Testing.
Check. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anthony Chiffo, and I am the proud principal here at Wantagh Middle School, joined this evening by our assistant principal, Miss Rachel Quattrochi, as well as our director of humanities, Miss Julie Rossley, our director of athletics and driver's ed and a few other things, health, Ms. Jen Keene, our executive director for curriculum instruction K through 12, Ms. Carol Ann Winans, who's sitting in for our director of STEM, Mr. Chris Kozak, and then our director of guidance, Mr. Frank Musio. You'll be hearing from most of us at some point this evening. Try to keep it as brief as possible. I know you probably have a lot of burning questions, so we're going to do our best to answer as many questions as we can in the presentation, and then we'll give you a little Q&A time as well. We have a mix of people viewing in person and a mix of people viewing at home. So if you're viewing at home, hi everybody. So just to give you a little background on myself, this is my 22nd year in Wantagh School District, so this has been my home for quite some time now, and I couldn't be happier here. I started off as a phys ed teacher at Wantagh Elementary School back in 2001. I taught phys ed there for 10 years. Then I was an elementary supervisor there for 1 year. Before coming to the middle school, I taught I was the AP at the middle school for 2 years. Then I went over to Forest Lake, and I was principal there for 7 amazing years, and now this is my 4th year here as principal at Wantagh Middle School. So I've built a lot of relationships over the past 22 years, and I just love it here, and it's great to see so many familiar faces. I see a lot of Forest Lake families out there, and I feel like it was just yesterday I was welcoming your child into Forest Lake as a kindergartner, and now here I am welcoming your child into Wantagh Middle School as a 6th grader, and it's pretty crazy. So, all right, so we're going to go through a couple of things tonight. I already introduced myself. Ms. Quattrochi, you'll hear from a little bit. Just want to kind of give you a feel for the people in the building, the people that you'll be interacting with, the people that your children will be interacting with on a day-to-day basis. So up on the screen, by the way, this whole presentation is being recorded, so you can refer back to it at any point. It'll be on our YouTube page. I'm going to send out the link tomorrow morning, along with some other links that you're going to need. And the slide presentation itself will also be posted on our website, so you can always go back to it and refer to it. And if there's phone numbers you need, it's all going to be in this presentation. So our main office clericals, you see here, we have Miss Kemma, Miss Bonello, Miss Price-Stupa. Miss Post is our main entrance person, and then Miss Wall is our guidance clerical, and one of our monitors, Miss Mizuka. All pictured there very happily. Okay, then on this People You Should Know page, probably the people you're going to get to know the best are the 3 people on the left. That's our guidance team. The guidance counselors are going to be the heart and soul for your children when they come into Wantagh Middle School. If you don't know who your child's guidance counselor is, we do it alphabetically. So if your child is last name A through G, you'll have Mr. Ward. He's the guy on the right. If you're H through O, it'll be Miss Gilly. She's the lady in the middle. And Mr. Bloom on the left is P through Z. They will be getting to know your children over the next couple of months. They'll be in your classrooms. We'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. But they'll be in your child classrooms. They'll be meeting with your children when they come visit the middle school, again, a little bit later in the year. And they are going to be your go-to person. They will most likely be your first contact for everything that you need. They're the ones that you go to first. We work very closely with the guidance team, and they're in our office all day, every day. So they'll come to us with any issues that we need help. They need our help resolving. We have 2 school psychologists. One of them is pictured here. The other one I just wanted to put up for sentimental purposes. That's Dr. Steve Taylor. He just retired in December, so he's out living his best life right now. And Dr. Zelenitz, some of you who were at Forest Lake might remember Dr. Z. We were lucky enough to have her move up to the middle school now, and that's their contact information. And then our nurses, who you'll also get to hear from in our August orientation, we have Ms. Zygus, Ms. Brady, and our nurse clerical, Ms. Pfister. And then we have our security guards. You'll get to know them if you do drop off in the morning. You'll see them every morning outside. Mr. Ron and Mr. Ben on the left-hand side there. And then Mr. Keith is our night guy. You'll see him at the end of the day during dismissal. And then he's usually here for any athletic events, and he's here till about 6:30, 7 o'clock every night. And then this is a list of our department directors and supervisors. I won't go through them all, but if you want to refer back to this, if you need to get in touch with any of them, these are your go-to people for curriculum and instruction. And then, of course, our amazing educators who you will have a chance to meet and greet over the next couple of months or years. These are going to be your go-to people, and these are the people that are going to be building relationships with your children. We obviously have a lot more than just these 12 or 13 teachers that I have here, but you will get to know our staff very well, and you'll be communicating with them quite often over the next couple of years. And just to give you a little insight as to our philosophy here at middle school and what I like to call our brand, our brand is Warriors Care. And that's the whole basis of what we do as educators, is making sure that before anything, your children are cared for, and that your children know that there are many, many adults in the building that care for them. And every email you see that I send, every social media post that we send out, you'll see #WarriorsCare on everything. And it's because it's our motto. It's our school motto. It's what we live by. And it's what we, as educators, strive to make sure that your children feel cared for. And just to give you one quick little story, that quote at the bottom, students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So when I first started working here, I was a coach, volleyball, softball, track, but volleyball was the one that scared me the most because I never played any volleyball growing up at all, and now all of a sudden I'm the JV, and then I was the varsity volleyball coach, and I was very nervous and self-conscious about that because I felt like these girls that I was coaching knew so much more than I did about the sport, and who am I to be teaching them what to do? They've been playing for their whole lives. And then Ms. Nacella, our AD, who was a mentor to me at the time, pulled me aside and said, Anthony, kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that one statement stuck with me for my entire 22-year career and eventually led to our Warriors Care brand. It really was eye-opening when she said that, and it made me realize that she's right. All I have to do is show an interest in them, let them know how dedicated I am in everything that I do, and you'll have them. And that's really our motto here, is let the kids know how much you care about them. And we really truly believe that every kid is one caring adult away from being a success story. So we really focus on building relationships. We'll talk to you a little bit over the next couple of minutes or maybe the next hour or so about how we work on building those relationships. Okay. So teaming in 6th grade is something that you might be new to. I think Mandalay might have started a teaming pilot this year where your child doesn't have just one teacher. They have a teacher for, I think 2 teachers for 2 subjects each. So here at the middle school, your child is going to be teamed on either the black team or the gold team. And each team has its own set of 4 core teachers, one for math, one for science, one for social studies, one for English. So those 4 teachers team up, and they share the same however many sections of students we have. Usually we have 8 sections, so they'll share 4 classes worth of kids. And we give each of those teams common planning time. And actually the whole 6th grade team has the same planning time, usually at the end of the day, period 9 and 10, where they meet as a whole grade to plan events, team-building events for your children, and then they meet as just their team to talk about nuts and bolts things with your children. If there's a child that's really struggling, it's a conversation that all 4 core teachers are going to have with each other so that they're all on the same page and they understand how to help your child best. So that's the teaming approach. We'll talk about the schedule a little bit and how that plays out, but when your child gets their schedule, they'll be placed on either black or gold. Don't stress too much about it. Both teams are amazing in terms of the educators on each team, and your children will still get to see their friends from the other team plenty. Just those 4 core classes they'll be with their team. All of the specials, all the electives, lunch, they have plenty of time to interact with students on the other team as well. All right, so this is just a quick little picture. This is, for example, our black team. And if you notice, there's a science and math, social studies, ELA. This year we had 9 sections, so it got a little weird because we had one team of 5, one team of 4. Next year I anticipate us going back to 4 and 4. But there's also reading specialists, ICT teachers, and math specialists that are also on the team that will be pushing into your classroom. And these were our gold team teachers this year. I anticipate this basically being what the gold team looks like next year as well. Okay, so I was going to call up Ms. Kelly Jones, our Director of Fine and Performing Arts. Unfortunately, she had a family emergency and couldn't make it tonight, so I'm going to talk about the music department, and then I'm going to call up some of our directors and supervisors to talk curriculum about their specific subjects. So in terms of music, you have to make a couple of decisions, and this is why we do this meeting so early. One of the decisions you have to make as a parent is what music you want your child to take. In elementary school right now, they could be in band, they could be in chorus, They could be in orchestra. Sometimes they're in two. They could be in band and chorus or orchestra and chorus. The main difference between music in the middle school and music in the elementary school is that all group rehearsals are built into the day, not before school like it is in elementary school. I know you come in the morning at like 8 o'clock, whatever, and you have your rehearsal. So it's built into their schedule now. So every other day for the full year, they'll have their music, whether it's band, chorus, orchestra. Now, we also have an opportunity. In previous years, you were only allowed to choose one. Let's say your child's in band now. The recommendation is you continue with band. If they're in orchestra, same thing. If they want to switch to a different music, let's say they're in chorus and they want to try band or try orchestra, they can still do so. So you have the option to choose that, because they started off like a beginner course anyway in 6th grade. If your child is in band or orchestra and also in chorus and they really want to do chorus as well, this is something we never offered in the past. You always had to just choose one of the three. And for the children who really loved an instrument but also loved to sing, it was kind of a bummer because they didn't have that opportunity to do both. We've opened up that opportunity last year, and it's been a huge success. And we do it through what we call the early bird. So our day starts period 2, and that's at like 8:16 or 8:30 or whatever it is. And we have an early bird course. That's the first period in the high school, which is 7:37, and we have a number of students that come in for that to do their chorus so that they can also do a performing group, an instrumental group, either band or orchestra. And we also, as they get older, there'll be some more early bird opportunities for them. So for 6th grade, the early bird opportunity is really chorus if your child wants to do a second music. And then if they don't want to do any performing group, we have a general music class as well. And that's for the child who's just not into performing. They don't want to be, they're not in anything now. They do have to do a music class to meet their music requirement for middle school. So it's a half-year course, general music, that goes every other day. Okay, now you'll get tomorrow from me a music selection form that I'm going to email to you. It's also going to be posted on our website. If you go to our middle school page, go right on the front page, you'll see quick links. Scroll down, you'll see music selection form. That is where you basically choose which performing group you want to be in. And you choose band, chorus, orchestra, or general music. And then there'll be a question if you would like to do the early bird chorus, you can choose that as well. So I'm going to email that home tomorrow. Please fill it out. Talk it over with your child. Fill it out by January 30th. I'll probably send you a reminder January 29th. But make sure you have that filled out because that really helps us with our scheduling process, which is basically starting now, which is the reason why we do this meeting so early. Okay, I'm going to call up our Executive Director for Curriculum Instruction K through 12. She's going to talk about, such a long title, Carol Ann. She's going to talk about math and science for us. Miss Carol Ann Winans, everybody.
Hi, everybody. So first, I just want to say I'm speaking on behalf of Christopher Kozak. He's our new Director of STEM. Those of you who had students previously enter the middle school, you know that was my previous position, so I have a lot of experience with this. But I want to let you know that you're in wonderful hands with Mr. Kozak. He has a wealth of knowledge of mathematics and science, and we're really excited to have him on board. So our math program, and now that I'm in the position I am, I can talk really about the transition between 5th grade and 6th grade. And I want to say your children are so very lucky for the experience they're going to have for the next 3 years in this middle school. It is such a wonderful, wonderful place for the students to really experience that intermediate education. So very similar if your students are currently at Mandalay, where they have the departmentalized and they have the push-in math support. Our 6th grade is designed between Ms. Gonyas and Ms. Van Bargen, and they have push-in support for the students who are struggling. They also use this push-in support for enrichment in mathematics. The program is really hands-on, and the students are going to focus on the steps to the solution, not just the correct answer. So just like your students are experiencing in the elementary experience where they have to talk about the strategies they used and why they used those strategies, that is going to continue with them, and they will have a very, very smooth transition with how they learn mathematics through the math workshop model in 5th grade into how they will learn mathematics in 6th grade. So we're really proud of that connection between the math in the 5th and 6th, and then how it really kind of increases the rigor and responsibility the child must have to prepare themselves for 7th and 8th grade. So it really is a nice environment in which the push and support and the two teachers work very collaboratively to make sure that the learning environment is very supportive. For some students who tend to struggle with math, you'll notice if you talk with the 6th graders, they enjoy having a conversation. They enjoy math talk. So they talk through the numbers, they talk about their solutions, they debate how did I get there. And it really has been such a growth since I started 4 years ago to see where the math department has come in terms of really allowing students to take risks and persevere through challenging problems. Okay, science, this science curriculum is a little bit my baby, so I have a little bit of pride in what we have developed. So the science standards have changed, but in that change there was a COVID pandemic. So the rollout of the new assessments are still behind. They were supposed to roll out about 3 years ago, and they are now rolling out for 5th grade and 8th grade next year. So if anybody had students who took the 4th grade assessment, they're going to skip a year of that 4th grade assessment, and then they're going to have the 5th grade assessment. Now, the 8th grade assessment, we will not be administering at the middle school because all of the students will be participating in Accelerated Regions program in which they would be choosing between earth science or living environment in 8th grade. Now, for those of you who some may say maybe we shouldn't accelerate the students, maybe we should take it a little slower, maybe give an opportunity for 6, 7, and 8, when we designed the curriculum, we took a look at all of the standards that have to offer, and we did a thematic balance of earth and space, physical science, and life science. And we took out very unique units for hands-on exploration, and when we created that, the only units that were left were those units that also are affiliated with the living environment curriculum. So it was kind of teach living environment twice, or let's give it a shot and have the students take the living environment assessment. So please don't think that since we do an acceleration program, we cut out curriculum from the middle school experience. The students 100% get an immersive, exploratory based learning foundation in the sciences that prepare them for all students to be ready academically as well as in terms of the scientific practices to take that exam in 8th grade. And so far our program has been very successful. So we're very proud of it. So with that, I'm going to introduce Julie Rossley, our Director of Humanities and World Languages.
Hello, good evening. So 6th grade is a really exciting time, and students are really fortunate here at Wantagh Middle School to continue learning with the reading and writing workshop models that they currently receive in elementary school. While they're in English class, your students are going to be instructed and supported by both an English teacher and a reading teacher. Throughout next year, your learners will be empowered with choice when reading fiction and nonfiction texts. This autonomy has proven to help stimulate interest and enjoyment in reading and help students to forge an appreciation of literature. During the year, students will write memoirs as well as argumentative and informational pieces in tandem with their reading units. This will reinforce the instruction of author's craft, text styles, and structures that the students will be studying. In social studies, students are going to learn quite a bit about geography and history of the Eastern Hemisphere, including the development of cultures, civilizations, and empires. As they uncover the 6th grade social studies curriculum, students are provided with the opportunity to explore belief systems across time and to examine foundations of democracy. The course covers a time span from prehistory to the 1300s. Now, the 6th grade social studies teachers encourage the students to draw connections between the past and the present, because let's be honest, the 1300s, it's pretty far back. But the goal is to create these big ideas and to answer essential questions that explore how the ancient world impacts our world today. In 6th grade, students in world language classes We'll learn both vocabulary and conjugations, as well as about culture and practices associated with the world language they have selected. As Mr. Chiffo mentioned, there are going to be forms being sent out tomorrow for music and also for world language. This is a slight shift from elementary school in the sense that your students have learned about French, Italian, and Spanish over the past 3 years. But beginning in middle school, students will focus on just one of the 3 languages. And we ask that you complete that form that Mr. Chiffo will share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rossley. Now I'd like to call up our Director of Guidance, Mr. Frank Musio. Want to hold it, or you want it
Here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Musio. I'm the Director of Guidance. And the Middle School Guidance Department has a specific mission. It's different from the high school, different from elementary. And that's really to help your child transition from elementary school, where they spend 6 years having one teacher, having a familiar principal, and now they're going to have new principals, they're going to have multiple teachers, they're going to be changing classes, so it's a really big transition. So we do our best to work with the elementary counselors and the elementary teachers to ease that transition. We visited the elementary schools in December, each of the 3 schools, and the counselors met with students that will be in their caseload. And we have a PowerPoint. And we could barely get through the PowerPoint. The students have so many questions. All the hands are in the air, and they're asking about lockers, and they're asking about lunch, and they're asking about homework. And it's great. It's just the fact that they're so engaged, and they really are excited about coming here. But I wonder if they'll asking you at home some of these questions, and you may not know the answer. So I want you to feel free to reach out to us. Mr. Chiffo mentioned that the 3 counselors are really our go-to people, and I couldn't agree more. What I find to be the greatest asset of the middle school counselors is that they know the middle school child. They know that the changes that your child will undergo in the next 3 years, physical changes, intellectual changes, emotional changes, and social changes. All these things are impacting them in the next 3 years. And so I find the counselors to be just really skilled in being able to listen. And a lot of times students just come down and we just are good listeners. And students sometimes just work out their own problems. If there's anything of a really serious nature, we certainly will pick up the phone, we'll give you a call. But a lot of times it's just a student that, is trying to work out a class problem or a problem in the lunchroom or something like that, and we really try to empower them to see, like, what would they say and approach a teacher and things like that. We really get them to build some resilience and some problem-solving skills. But I want you to know that the counselors are always a phone call away or an email away from any questions or concerns that you have. The overall mission of the middle school department, guidance department, is to get your child ready for high school, the next transition. So we do that really in 4 major ways. One is, like I said, that personal counseling. And it's almost impossible for me to have a conversation with one of the middle school counselors because there's always somebody waiting to speak to them, one of the students. We really have a great open door policy. But personal counseling, just getting to know the student getting to know us, working out those problems. We also do a lot of group counseling at things like friendships and changing friendships, and just academic issues or open-ended kinds of groups. We also do classroom lessons. We'll do classroom lessons on career exploration, cyber safety. We'll do lessons on self-awareness and self-esteem and anti-bullying. And we try to do this in such a way that the students really enjoy it, and I think they do. The last way we try to accomplish this is through evening programs. And each November, and I invite you to put it on, to check the district calendar next year, we'll have an evening program for parents and students. This year we did something on anxiety and stress reduction. Next year we're going to do something on advanced college planning. Now don't think I'm crazy. What we do with our college program for middle school is really to get students and parents to understand the behavioral milestones that have to be met prior to going into high school and then prior to going to college. And those include being an independent homework completer and being responsible for themselves. Those are college skills, believe it or not. So we'll have that evening program next year. I may have my friend from Binghamton University join me, as we did 3 years ago. So I welcome you to Wantagh Middle School, and I hope you have a wonderful experience. And one more thing about that transition. What I find, the students really turn the corner in terms of their familiarity and their comfortability with the school when they do the tour in June, and then they'll do the, do we still call it the picnic? Not really. Now it's the orientation. I think they used to have hot dogs back in the day, so I still call it the picnic. But that's when I really find the students are like, I get it. It's shaped like an F, you know, the whole building. So thank you all for coming this evening, and I think I'll turn it back to Ms. Quadracci.
All right, good evening, everyone. Move this up a little bit. Okay, my name is Rachel Quatrochi. I am the assistant principal here at Wantagh Middle School. And I'm going to start by talking to you about some of the great courses that we offer here. So if you look up top, the first thing we have are our core subjects. So as they were previously spoken about, we have ELA with the supportive reading teacher. We have mathematics with our supportive math specialist, as well as social studies 6 and science 6. The next thing on the list is our exploratory courses, or as we like to call them, the wheel courses. So those are 4 courses: Art 6, Introductory to Technology, Home and Careers, and Computer Skills. And all of those are 10-week courses. So your child will have that class for 1 quarter. So if they have, say, Art 6 the first quarter, they'll have something different for quarter 2. It'll change for quarter 3 as well as quarter 4. Then we also have World Language, as Ms. Rossley just spoke about. Creative Minds, which is similar to a STEAM class in the elementary school, physical education, and then our music courses that Mr. Chiffo just spoke about. And those are all half-year courses. They're offered throughout the entire school year, but they're on an even or odd schedule, so it works out to be a half-year course. And then additional courses that are offered, our Horizon course, which is similar to Creative Mind. We have some remedial reading courses, Wilson and Just Words, our ENL course, Resource Room or ICT, as well as our special classes. Okay, so here is a sample schedule. So just with a show of hands, how many of you are new to the middle school? All right, we have a lot of people new to the middle school. All right, so the schedule can look kind of overwhelming at first, so I'm going to take a second to kind of go through this piece by piece, and for those of you who are new, I promise it's not as difficult as it might seem at first glance. So period 1 is advisory, which I'll talk about a little bit more in depth in a few slides, but basically that's a homeroom period. So it says period 1, but it's only about 10 minutes in the morning. So if you look at periods 2, 3, and 4, the first thing you'll notice is, so for a sample schedule on an odd day, a child might have English. You'll see period 3 says discovery learning, which I'll go into in a second, and then period 4 is social studies. Each period is 40 minutes. So if your child, say, has English on that day for 40 minutes, period 2, it goes 20 minutes into the discovery learning, which is period 3. Discovery learning is our fancy word for the block. So a child would have English for period 2 and half of period 3. Then a bell will ring for 6th grade students, and halfway through period 3, they would then go to social studies. So for the second half of period 3 and period 4, your child would have social studies for the block that day. So it's a 60-minute English block and a 60-minute social studies block. So periods 2, 3, and 4 for a 6th grade student it's not actually 3 different classes. It's English for this child and then social studies for the second half of the 60-minute block. So if you jump ahead a second and you look down at periods 7 and 8, that's when they have science and math. Those are 40-minute periods. So if your child has English and social studies for the 60-minute block for, say, an odd day, then they'll have science and math for only 40 minutes. And then if you look at the even day schedule, that flips. So if you see there, that student would then have math for the 60-minute block and science for the 60-minute block on the second day, and social studies and English would then only be 40 minutes. So the rationale behind that, it sounds a lot more challenging than it actually is. It becomes very routine for the students, and they know exactly where they need to go, and they travel with their group. But the reason behind doing the block and flipping the block schedule is, let's say you have a student who learns really well in the morning, right? It's not fair for that child to have only those same 2 classes every single day in the morning. So we flip-flop the block schedule to give every learner a chance to do their best in their favorite subject or their best subject, either in the morning or in the afternoon. So that's the learning block. So it says discovery learning on the schedule, which sometimes is a little confusing for parents because they think discovery learning is a class, but it's not a class. It's just what we have on the schedule as a placeholder for the learning block. And then we have, physical education, as I said, is an every other day course. Then lunch. So the way that lunch works in the middle school is we actually have 2 cafeterias. So the students eat downstairs in the cafeteria. We have 2 different serving lines, and your child will eat for approximately 20 minutes. And then they switch. So what happens at that switch time is, say if your child ate first for the first 20 minutes, then they have the opportunity for either indoor recess or outdoor recess, pending weather, for the second 20 minutes of the period. And we recently just transformed our upstairs room into a game room. It's really exciting. The kids are they're really enjoying it. We have board games, we have air hockey, we have ping pong tables. We're getting a lot of we have foosball tables, and we've ordered some other really neat stuff that's going to be coming in soon. So the students have the opportunity to go upstairs and socialize with their friends and play some games, or if they want to go outside on a nice day, they can do that as well. So that's lunch, science and math, or the next 2 subjects I spoke about. Language and creative mind, those, like we said, are the, language is the every other day class. Creative mind would be your quarterly wheel class, and that's also shown for period 10. So this is just a quick look at the bell schedule. So as Mr. Chiffo mentioned earlier, there are a few early bird opportunities. So 7:36 to 8:16 is really before the school day starts. That's why we call it early birds. Advisory is that 10-minute period that I will talk about in depth in a few more slides. And then periods 2 through 10 are the actual school day. So it's a 9-period day, but our school day starts period 2. Okay, instructional resources. So I know a lot of you are probably familiar with Schoology at this point. I know that we start to use that in about grade 3. So this will be used daily for instruction for your child. Most of you probably, like I said, are familiar with it. I'll also show you where you can access some user videos if you want to familiarize yourself with that again. They're located on our school website. Teachers use that every day to post about upcoming exams, any slides or anything that was used during the class period. We use that to post extra help as well as homework. Okay, I'm sure you're also very familiar with Infinite Campus. So in the middle school, we use Infinite Campus to post grades for daily attendance, and as well for you to access your child's daily schedule. And it's usually synced weekly with Schoology. So if you're looking for something in the moment, your child handed something in, you want to see what their grade was, or if an assignment is missing, I recommend that you look at the teacher's Schoology page. And the Infinite Campus is used really for report cards, and it's synced weekly. But the in the moment best place to look for grades would be Schoology. And that's also the best way to contact your child's teacher. Okay, our advisory program. So advisory is similar to homeroom. It's just a fancy word for homeroom. So every teacher will have an advisory, which has about 8 to 10 students from every grade level. So advisory is a really great time for your child to meet, say, a teacher that they may not have any year in their, it could be somebody that maybe they wouldn't have any year in their middle school career. And they also get to meet students that they likely wouldn't interact with on a daily basis. And it's a chance to start their day in a nice, warm, caring environment. They get to socialize with kids in different grades, ask them questions about the school. Mr. Chiffo and myself share an advisory. We actually do the morning announcements. We like to do fun activities with our group, and that's really what those 10 minutes in the morning are used for. We also do a Name That Tune every Friday. The students really look forward to it. We play a song over the announcements and they call in, they dial in. I like to think about like the Z100 days when you try to call in and be like the 100th caller. So they come down, they win a prize, everybody gets very excited. It's a very competitive thing. It's like the rotary dial, old phones too, when they call, so we've switched to using teacher cell phones. People were getting very upset about the old phones. All right, lockers. So lockers are probably something that students are the most excited about, and they're also the most anxious about. So as you can see, the locker on the left is what I like to call a September locker. It's very organized, it looks very decorated, everything is there. And then if you look on the right, that's an October locker. So as you can see, things have changed in the first couple of weeks of school. So we like to stress to children to keep their lockers clean, to keep them locked, and not to share their combinations. So kids like to share their combinations with their friends, share their lockers, share their things that are inside of there. We really would like you to emphasize to your children not to do that, because as Mr. Musio mentioned before, friendships change a lot over the course of middle school careers, and who somebody is, best friends with one day, that could change the next day. And so keeping our locker combination to ourselves is really in everybody's best interest, and that should also be where phones are stored. Another thing we like to say is when they come in August, really work with your child and start to practice how to use a lock, how to use the combination lock. That is something that students become very anxious about in the beginning, but we always stress to them, teachers are in the hallway. We will always help you. You will always be able to get into your locker. And the most important bullet on the bottom is use it. So when COVID happened a couple of years back, students really started obviously carrying things in their backpack. They weren't really using their lockers, and this has become a very common practice for kids to carry everything all day long in their backpack. And we really advise against doing that, and there's more to come on that. There might be some changes in the rules for the upcoming school year, but we really encourage them to use their lockers. That's why they're there. All right. Clubs. So clubs in the middle school, 7th and 8th graders have the opportunity to participate in sports. Right now we don't have sport activities for 6th grade students, but we have a ton of clubs. This is just a handful of the clubs that we actually offer at the middle school. And one thing that I wanted to show you was our club page. So when you go to our middle school website, and you go to extracurricular, you'll see the drop down for clubs. And right here, this is a list of all of the clubs that we offer here at the middle school. Some of them are weekly, some of them are every other week, some of them are monthly. And if you click on any of the names here, it'll take you to the advisor's website. And on the bottom, you'll see a calendar. Now, this is something that you will find as a parent of a 6th grader extremely useful, because they will not tell you what club is when, and then they will not be home or on the bus, and you don't know where they are. But if they are in a club, you can take a look at this calendar and say you want to see what club was meeting today, or you want to help your child prepare. You can click on this day, and every single club that's meeting that day is listed there. Where they're meeting, who they're meeting, and if you click on the club, sometimes there'll be more of a description if they need to bring something to participate in that club that day. So it's a really good resource. You could start to talk to your children about maybe some of the clubs or some of the things that they're interested in. And there's new clubs every year, but we really pride ourselves on having a ton of clubs that students are able to find things that they're interested in. And on that note, I am going to pass the mic back to Mr. Chiffo.
All right, thank you, Ms. Q. Two things I wanted to point out. So when you go to the website, when she was talking about how we do our morning announcements, and I just thought of this, so you can also check, we also post our morning announcements from that morning on our website as well. Same spot if you go to the middle school page, There's a quick links. Scroll down right under quick links. You'll see morning announcements, and then you can click that. That'll also give you a list of the clubs that are meeting that day as well. So there's plenty of ways to get that. And one other thing that I want to mention about advisory, another thing that we do in advisory every morning, we announce every child's birthday when it's their birthday that morning, or over the weekend. We'll announce the weekend birthdays, and then we do something called Caring Warriors. So for those of you, I'm sure they do this at all 3 schools, but when I was at Forest Lake, we used to do this thing called bucket filling, and if you filled somebody's bucket, you got nominated, and then we announced your name over the loudspeaker. So that we kind of carried over into the middle school. We call it Caring Warriors. So any kid can get nominated for doing something that shows that they care, or something above and beyond to help another student, or just some kind act, kind of like being caught being kind. And anybody can nominate. Kids nominate other kids. Adults nominate kids. Kids nominate adults. By the end of the first few weeks, we have a stack of nomination forms, and then through our advisory during the morning announcements, we try to announce one story each day. And what I mean by a story is we'll announce the kid's name. We'll say today's Caring Warrior is whoever, and we'll read what they did to get nominated as a Caring Warrior. And as the more we announce it, I notice the more kids are going out of their way to do kind acts. And I always say my favorite Caring Warrior story is when a kid goes up to another kid in the lunchroom and invites them over to their table if there's a kid sitting by themselves. That's the one that I always seem to emphasize the most. And as we emphasize it, we start to see more and more of it happening in the cafeteria. Oh, sorry. Okay, so just to give you an idea of who to go to, who are your go-to people when you need support or when you have a problem and you need some kind of assistance. So obviously if it's an academic issue and something in the classroom, the first person you should be contacting is the teacher. Reach out through email. They will always get back to you, or if you want to request a phone call or even an in-person conversation, that's all okay and acceptable. But that's your first line of defense, is go to the teacher, or you can go to the counselor. Sometimes if it's a team of teachers that you wanted to address, you would go to your guidance counselor, ask them to send an email. Let's say you had a death in the family and you wanted your teachers to know. You can ask your guidance counselor to communicate that with the staff, and the staff will all be aware of that. Obviously, you can also go to your advisor, your child's advisor, who is the person they have in the morning for advisory. If it's a medical concern, obviously go to the nurse. Our school psychologist is always available as well, and they are not there just for the students on their caseload. You will find Dr. Z and previously Dr. Taylor in the cafeterias, in the hallways, walking around, popping into classrooms. You'll see them, or your kids will see them, you won't. Your children will see them all over the building, and they're definitely a go-to person. If you're having a problem, if your child's having social issues, reach out to their guidance counselor or even reach out to the school psychologist. We're all a team. We will all communicate. We meet weekly with our helping team, we call it, the guidance staff, the psychologist, the nurse, our social worker. We all meet regularly and discuss social issues that are going on, academic issues that are going on. So don't be afraid to reach out to any one of us in that case. If it's an academic concern, something in the classroom, and you reached out to the teacher and the counselor and you didn't get the answer you were looking for, you can always go to one of our directors or supervisors. Those are our curriculum experts. And then, of course, Ms. Q or myself would be the next two that you can approach. Our doors are always open. We're always available. In terms of communication, you can expect weekly emails from us. We'll always send on Friday, or sometimes if Friday gets a little hectic, Saturday. And if Saturday gets hectic, Sunday, you'll get what's called a weekend review. And basically, we send a link to all of our social media posts from that week. So if you don't love, checking social media every day, you'll get an update of all of everything we posted in something called Wakelet. It's just an app, but you don't need the app. You just need the link. You click the link, and you'll see everything that was posted that week through social media. And then a bunch of events coming up, important announcements. Sometimes if there's something I need to address, like earlier this year, we had this issue with these hot chips that kids were running around the building eating, and it was getting kids sick, so I had to send an email about that. That all gets included in our weekly email, weekend review. I try to keep the lines of communication open pretty regularly. Then there's social media, which I'm going to talk to in a second. And then, obviously, like I said, our open door. Look, if you have a problem and don't feel like you have to hesitate and go through it, you can come to us. We're there. We're always going to answer your emails. We're always going to answer your calls. If you send us an email, we'll always get back to you within 24 hours, if not much sooner than that. There's been times on the weekend I get an email, I respond immediately. But also things happen. So if it's a Friday afternoon and you send us an email, 24 hours, in work time would be by Monday the latest. We'll get back to you, if not sooner. But don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're always there. We always want to help. Now, in terms of social media, we're very active on social media in terms of posting things that go on in our buildings. I have 2 teenagers at home, so I know exactly what answer I get when they come home and I ask them how was their day. I get, well, good. My daughter maybe will give us a little bit more information, but my son is good, and an eye roll as he walks into his room. So if I go by them, there's nothing happening within those walls in the school. However, I know there's a lot of great things happening inside those walls, and it's important to me that we share that with all of you, and I call it sharing our story. I want to share with you all the great things that are going on, all the amazing lessons that are happening inside our walls, and I really feel it's important that you see that so that you don't share a different story that you think might be happening inside of our classrooms. So we have Twitter at Wantagh Middle, we have Facebook at Wantagh Middle, and we have Instagram at The Wantagh Middle. Follow us now. Go to all those sites, follow us so you can kind of get a feel for what we're all about. I used to manage the social media pages by myself, and it just got to be a little bit too daunting. So this year we asked one of the teachers to take over, Miss Longo, one of our science teachers. So she's like our social media person, and the social media page is better than it's ever been. It's like unbelievable. So certainly follow us. You'll get to see all the great things. We also use it as an information tool where we'll post a reminder for this meeting as an example. We'll post the clubs that are meeting that week, what days they're meeting. So she really uses it for information as well as sharing the great things happening within the building. And every post that we make will be #WarriorsCare, and then that's how we pull from the Wakelet app, and we can send out everything that gets posted. And if something gets posted on Twitter, it's getting posted on all the platforms. So you don't have to follow all 3. You're going to get the same information on all 3 platforms. Okay, just a couple of last little nuts and bolts items before we open it up to questions. So extra help is offered 3 times a week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Each teacher is required to offer extra help twice a week. And again, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Sometimes they offer it in the morning. They'll always offer at least 1 day after school. Sometimes they'll offer 2 days after school and nothing in the morning. If it's in the morning, it's that first period, the high school period one, which is 7:36. If it's after school, it's from 3:02 until usually 3:30, 3:45. I encourage a child to go to extra help, especially if they're struggling in their classes. That's going to be the first line of defense. If you're having academic concerns, the first thing we're going to suggest, or the first thing the counselors are going to suggest, is go to extra help. It's really important. We have classrooms filled with kids for extra help on a daily basis. They really utilize it. It's really important that they go. Then we have something called Homework Central. So Homework Central is offered in the library Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The only day it's not offered is Mondays, and that's because of contractual things with teachers. But we have a teacher in the Homework Central room in the library where your child can go after school and they can sit in the library and do their homework and then take the late bus home or get picked up at 3:45 if you pick them up, and they'll get assistance doing their homework with a teacher in the room. So it's a really good resource. I highly recommend you utilize it. We usually have a library filled with students for Homework Central as well. Maybe not as much on Fridays, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, definitely that room is usually packed. And then just a word about AM arrival. The school day starts, we open the doors at 8:05. Unless your child has an early bird or unless they're going for extra help, then they come in before that. But for the students who only come in for advisory and then period 2, the doors open at 8:05. Our buses pull up a little before that. We hold them on the buses until 8:05, and then we let them off. So if you're dropping off and you drop off at 8 or 7:55, sometimes we'll just have them waiting outside. You'll see a crowd of kids kind of piling up around the under the colonnade, and then at 8:05 we let them all in. On a really, really cold day or inclement weather day, we'll let them into the lobby a little sooner, but we really try to hold to the 8:05 just because we don't have the staff supervision really until then. So that would be the arrival time. The day starts at 8:16. That's when advisory begins. 8:16 to 8:26, as Ms. Q pointed out, and then 8:30 is the first period, technical period of the day. It's called period 2, but that's most kids' first period if they don't have an early bird. Then dismissal is at 3:02, and similar dismissal, we have our buses that line up by the flagpole, and walkers can get picked up underneath the colonnade, same area that you'll do your drop-off. I will send out detailed information about the arrival and dismissal procedures as we get closer to the start of the school year, so don't stress about that. In terms of discipline, it's a little bit different than elementary school discipline. And I mentioned earlier I was an elementary principal for 6 years. And, the typical consequences that you would get in elementary school would be sometimes, recess or lunch detention or something like that. Nothing that crazy. It's always a learning experience, and we still carry that learning experience into middle school. For us, it's about, look, those 3 years are the craziest 3 years. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are the craziest 3 years in any child's life. My daughter's living it right now. My son went through it, and those are the years that they're going to make so many mistakes. And they're going to do things that they, maybe you're not typically used to seeing them do, and they might get in trouble for it, and we have to give consequences. And just want you to know that in terms of us giving out consequences, we always work with you as a team. It's really important to us that we communicate with the parents, and we come up with what we think is a reasonable consequence based on the situation. There's no cut and dry, if you do this, you get this. We have things like lunch detentions, we have after-school detentions, sometimes in-school or out-of-school suspensions, and we try to make it progressive, but we always work with you with the end result being, what is going to get through to them the most, what is going to help them understand why what they did was wrong, and what are they going to learn from it. And we really try to treat it like a learning experience here. And a quick word about cell phones. This is always problematic. Some 6th graders are just getting cell phones for the first time. Some 6th graders had them for a few years. We have a no cell phone rule in the school. I think the elementary schools do as well, so it's really not much of a change. We know that they have cell phones on them. We're not telling you to not send them in with their cell phones, because I understand as a parent you want to be able to communicate them at the end of the day when they're getting picked up or if they're on their way home. So we know that they have their cell phones in school, and we allow that, but they have to be turned off and either in their pocket or in their backpack or hopefully in their locker, just somewhere out of sight. I'm not going to chase kids around if I know it's in their pocket, but if it's ringing and dinging, then yes, we are going to say something to them. And we really, really strongly encourage them not to have it out ever. They shouldn't be texting you. If you have to get in touch with them, contact the school, call the school. If they have to get in contact with you, they should come to the main office and call you. Where we run into trouble is we see kids in the bathrooms texting their friends, texting their parents. Sometimes you'll see kids making a TikTok, and that's a big no-no, especially in a locker room or a bathroom. I've given some pretty significant consequences for that. But just make sure you reiterate to your child, look, middle school, they're just not mature enough to handle cell phones in school. They're taking pictures of everything, they're taking videos, and it's just not appropriate for the middle school age child. When they get to high school, totally different story. But in middle school, they really can't have their phones on them or using them. And if they do, if they're walking in the hallway and they're on their phone and a teacher sees it, we instruct our teachers to take the phone, bring it to the main office, we log it, we put it in a bin, and if it's the first offense at the end of the day, we let the kid come pick it up. If it's the second offense or anything beyond that, the parent has to come pick it up, or guardian, or whoever. An adult has to come pick it up, and we don't call home to tell you that we have your child's phone. Part of the consequence of that is they have to go home and tell you that they got their phone taken away, and then you have to come up and get it. It doesn't happen all that often, but it does happen from time to time. We have a few repeat offenders occasionally. Okay, so before we take questions, just a little bit of what to expect in the next coming months. Obviously, today we had our first meeting. You'll meet with me again in August during the 6th grade orientation, formerly known as the 6th grade picnic. With that day, you'll have a chance to tour the building with your child. We'll meet probably in the cafeteria. You'll hear from me for a number of minutes, maybe 20 minutes or so, just kind of give a little introduction. We'll go over some of the things we went over tonight just to reiterate. And then basically the rest of that time is you having an opportunity to walk your child's schedule. By that point, you'll already have your child's schedule. You'll know what team they're on, and you'll have the opportunity to walk your child's schedule, go class to class, follow it, go to their locker, practice opening and closing their locker a bunch of times. Sometimes you bring in stuff to decorate your lockers. You're allowed to do that during that time. We don't really rush you out on that day. You have plenty of time to roam the building. We do it in groups. I think we do it in like 2 or 3 sessions. So you have plenty of time. Sometimes teachers are there. You'll get a chance to pop in and just say hi to the incoming teachers. But that's usually in the last week of August. We'll send that date out as we develop our calendar. That date has not been chosen yet. Then, as Mr. Musio said, counselors have already started going into the classrooms. They're going to go into the classrooms a few more times, and then your child's going to come to the middle school at some point. Don't know if we set a date for that yet. It's usually in May, where they come visit the middle school. They meet with some of our, what we call ambassadors. There's a club called the Ambassadors Club. They'll meet with those students. They will give them a tour of the building. They'll meet with me. I'll talk to them. I'll introduce myself, get to know them a little bit, and then they'll get a chance to tour, and then they go back to the elementary school. And that's pretty much the gist of what to expect. And like I said, really important, tonight, tomorrow, the next day or two, before January 30th, you have 2 tasks. Fill out the music form to choose your music, and fill out the language form to choose your child's language. And if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to those directors and supervisors that we had listed earlier. And with that said, we're going to open it up for questions. Thank you, everybody, for your attentiveness, and we'll take questions. Did I do that good? There's not one question? I've really perfected this presentation, I guess, over the years. Yes, in the back. Good question. His question, I'm going to repeat each question for the benefit of the home audience. His question was, how do we know if they get a bus or not? I believe, I don't know what I wish I knew the mileage, what the mileage was. Does anybody know off the top of your head, Frank? Do you happen to know the mileage? 1 mile from school? I'd be guessing also. I don't know the exact mileage. However, our transportation department will mail you a bus pass sometime in the summer. If you're not 100% certain, look, if you're a Mandalay family, you're a busser. If you're a Forest Lake family, you could potentially be a busser unless you live like on the flower streets. And if you're a Wantagh family, you're most likely a busser. I'm trying to think what areas of Wantagh might not be a busser. If you have to cross Wantagh Avenue, I'm pretty sure you're a busser. But I would call transportation Linda Scarano. She can look at the map, tell you if you're a busser or not, and then over the summer you'll get a bus pass, and they'll send it to you and they'll tell you what bus number you're at and whatever. They do that for elementary school, I think, as well. Yes. The question was, are there any coding classes? So they do a little bit of coding in the Creative Mind class, and then as they move on, I think they also do a little bit of coding in computers in the wheel class. Miss O'Connor dabbles in that a little bit, and then the Creative Mind class, Mr. Sposito does a little bit of that. They do some like drone flying and things like that, and they work on oh, goodness, I'm trying to think of the name of the program. Not Codester. I forget the name of the program that they use. They use the Blockly. I'm just drawing a blank on the name of the program right now. But it's like a Blockly method that they do. And then there is an opportunity as they get to 8th grade. There's a automation and robotics class that they really dive into more in-depth coding as well. Any other questions? Wow. All right, well, before we go, I just want to, it was a pleasure meeting everybody. We're so looking forward to meeting your child, or in some cases for me, reuniting with your child as I'm looking around the audience and I'm seeing some of my Forest Lake parents, and I'm just so excited. I can't believe that your child is coming into middle school already. It's just time flies. But we're really looking forward to getting to know them. If you have any questions, if you think of anything over the next couple of weeks, just reach out to us, send us an email, give us a call, and we're happy to help. Thank you for coming, and have a great evening, everybody.